All right, let's have a discussion on texture space for a second. Okay, we got to build UVs. And the reason why I limited this to a very small area is because that's how you should probably chunk out your levels. I mean, think about the texture space. Texture space works like this. You have at your disposal this little tiny area, this square, to represent something. Okay? And what you represent to it is a matter of if you have an entire city strung up on this little thing, obviously the textures are going to look like crap because there's no doubt about it. An entire city of textures would never fit in here unless you had like walls that were this big. Okay, so right here, maybe this texture right here would represent brick, and this one would represent cement, and then this one, the window, one window, two window, and then you got a complex with several windows, so you're going to end up taking up a bunch of these squares. The point here is this right here is what you have to worry about when you're building a level, is your texture space. And there's some advantages to building stuff in Unity in the fact that the texture space equation is now out of the question. You don't have to worry about that because you're just wrapping textures on objects. Each object represents its own texture space. With that, the creativity part of it, let's say I put a splotch of blood on the wall on this room right here, it would be a hard sell to do that without some tribulation in the Unity game engine. So this is where I like the old school type of approach for building levels. Okay, so enough jibber jabber. Let's go in here and set up some stuff. All right, let's start out by thinking in terms of concept. Okay, so several different things are going to appear here. What do we want the walls to look like? What are they? I'm probably going to treat this as a sci-fi level, only because it's kind of easier to wrap my head around it, and there's no right or wrong that way. Start out that way, then maybe look at an area of your house. I mean, look at the walls around you. They're paint, right? Paint's boring. There's no doubt about it. It has some kind of surface texture, and it might have some drips and those little tiny cracks and crevices in the wall that you should have spackled years ago. But those are the only things that make it interesting, is those little cracks and crevices. Other than that, it's a stupid wall and it's very bland to look at. So that's why, sci-fi is kind of the way to go if you want to get some praise later on. All right, so here we go. So what I'm going to do is put out some blends. So blend. And we're going to treat it like blend 1. If I click on it over here, I'm going to call this wall 1. Wall 2. Wall 3. If you keep them all lowercase, what will happen is they will keep their numbering convention quite well. Okay, so there's those, and I'm going to limit this. I'm going to say I'm only going to have 3 wall textures, and then I'm going to have maybe 2 floor textures. And maybe 2 ceiling textures. Now, too often do I see students that they're just, oh yeah, I'm going to download a whole bunch of textures, and I'm just going to slap them up on the walls, and they don't set themselves a limit, and maybe they should. I'm just showing you a different way to do this. If you kind of plan this ahead, you can wrap your head around it. And The fact of the matter is, I've seen too many levels go down the tubes because you don't unify all the color structures in the levels. Like if you walk into a room, take in consideration that is your house. You're decorating it. Yeah, you wouldn't go in there and put brick in one room and then some kind of paint in the other and then tile in the other one. Okay, it's just too much of a mix match. So keep it like you're decorating a house and keep that in the frame of your reference. Okay, so there we go. We got all our textures out, or materials out here. Now we need textures. So materials hold great many of textures. So for that, let's go into the next video where we kind of build wall 1, 2, and 3, and then the rest of these.